hello students, I welcome you all to Obstetrics and Gynecology with Mackler. So in today's module, we are going to deal about the Mullerian duct. As we all know, Mullerian duct is very important for the formation of female internal genital organs. So what are the female internal genital organs? The fallopian tube with the ovary, the uterus, cervix and vagina are the female internal genital organ. So basically this Mullerian duct is very important for the formation of the female internal genital organ. Okay, so what is this Mullerian duct? So this Mullerian duct is nothing but it is the invagination of the coelomic epithelium. So at around 6 weeks of the intrauterine life, there is going to be invagination of the coelomic epithelium. So once the coelomic epithelium is going to get invaginated, it is going to result in the formation of a tubular structure, and this tubular structure is termed as Mullerian duct. So from this Mullerian duct only the female internal genital organ is going to be developed. So ideally there are two Mullerian ducts, each present on each side. One is present on the left side and the other is present on the left side. Each side's Mullerian duct will contribute about one fallopian tube, half of the uterus, half of the cervix and half of the upper part of the vagina. So we have divided the vagina into two parts, that is going to be the upper part of the vagina and the lower part of the vagina. Is that clear? Yes. And fallopian tube, one side Mullerian duct will give rise to one fallopian tube of that side, the other side fallopian tube will give rise to the one fallopian tube of the other side. Is that clear? So basically we have two fallopian tubes, one single uterine cavity, one cervix and one vagina in every normal female. So that is getting formed by this way. So each Mullerian duct will give rise to one fallopian tube, half of the uterus, half of the cervix and half of the upper part of the vagina. So once these half part merges with the other side's half part, it is going to result in the formation of single uterus, single cervix and single upper vagina, and two fallopian tube is going to be formed. Is that clear? Okay. Now this lower part of the vagina is actually not derived from the Mullerian duct. It is going to develop from the sinovaginal bulb of the urogenital sinus. So from the sinovaginal bulb of the urogenital sinus, the lower part of the vagina is actually going to get developed. Okay, and ovary is not getting its development from the Mullerian duct. Ovary is developed from the genital ridge. So ovary is getting developed from the genital ridge. The lower part of the vagina is actually developed from the sinovaginal bulb of the urogenital sinus, and the one fallopian tube, half uterus, half cervix and half of the upper part of the vagina is actually coming from one side Mullerian duct. So we have dealt about the Mullerian duct now. Now let's discuss how this each side's Mullerian duct will actually form a single uterine cavity. Now, this right and the left Mullerian duct, which will give rise to the respective side fallopian tube, uterus, cervix and vagina, they will fuse at about 10 weeks. At about 10 weeks of intrauterine life, the right side and the left side fallopian tube, the uterus, the cervix and the vagina. Fallopian tube is one on each side, uterus, cervix and vagina, upper part of the vagina is going to be half on each side. So this will approach in the midline and they will fuse. Let me show an image. So this is the result of one Mullerian duct and this is the result of the second Mullerian duct. This is going to be the right side and this is going to be the left side. Is that clear? So this is the fallopian tube, this is going to be the uterus, this is the cervix and this is the upper part of the vagina. So each side's Mullerian duct will give rise to each side's fallopian tube, half of the uterus of each side, half of the cervix of each side, half of the upper part of vagina of each side. Is that clear? By about 10 weeks, they are going to fuse. They are going to approach in the midline and they are going to fuse. So once they fuse, there is the formation of the septa. So this septa is going to form by around 10 weeks. Now, in order to convert into a single uterine cavity, this septa has to resolve. Is that clear? Yes. Once the septa is getting resolved, only the uterus will form into a single uterine cavity. Now, when does this process happen? So this resolve of the septa is going to happen in around 20 weeks. By around 20 weeks, the septa is going to resolve, and this resolve is going to happen in the direction of a below upwards direction. So first, this resolve is going to happen in the below direction and then it is going to progress in the upward direction. So initially, this part will fuse, later this part will fuse, and later this part will fuse, and finally the uterus, a single uterine cavity will be formed like this. Is that clear? Yes. So by around 20 weeks, the septa is going to be resolved from below upwards direction, and once the septa is going to get resolved, a single uterine cavity is going to be formed in a female. So let me show you here. Single uterine cavity. So now let's discuss about the parts of the uterus. Is that clear? Okay. So this is going to be the fundus of the uterus. See, the final stage of the single uterine cavity which is going to form is that the fundus of the uterus will become dome-shaped. The fundus will become dome-shaped. So the fundus becoming dome-shaped is the final stage of the development of female internal genital organs. So this fundus is going to become dome-shaped. Is it clear? Okay. So this is the fundus of the uterus and this is going to be the fallopian tube. These are the parts of the fallopian tube which we'll be discussing later on. Okay, and this is going to be the fimbriae and this is the ovary. Is that clear? Yes. And this part, the central portion is going to be the uterine cavity. Okay, so that is going to be the uterine endometrium. Outer part, this is the muscular layer, this is the myometrium. Muscle for myometrium. The outermost region is the perimetrium. So this region is going to be the cervix and this is the vagina. Is that clear? So we have discussed until now about how the Mullerian duct of each side will give rise to the formation of fallopian tube, uterus, cervix and vagina, and how these are going to form and how this septa is going to be resolved and getting formed into a single uterine cavity. So this is all about the Mullerian duct and formation of female internal genital organ. In the subsequent module, we'll be discussing about certain anomalies which are termed as Mullerian malformation, where there is some problem with the Mullerian duct, or there is some problem with diffusion of the Mullerian duct, or there is going to be some problem with the resolution of this uterine septa. So these will be the problems of Mullerian malformations. There are separate classes, say for example class 1 to class 7 Mullerian malformations are present, which we'll be discussing in the subsequent modules as well. So until then, please keep studying, students. Let's meet in the subsequent module. Bye.